participate. So it's like sort of the way that the public is able to sit in the meeting. And so that's why it has to be live streamed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
So I guess just sit tight. We'll get that going again. So Jolene's probably working on that with Brad.
Michael Rogg is joining the Zoom meeting for the presentation now. He was unsure of the process, so.
And is Amy back with us too?
I will check on her too.
All right, thank you.
Joanna, did you see that Rachel says it's back on YouTube?
Okay, nope, I didn't see. Thank you. All right. Randy,
Well, do we have
Got him.
Dean Rogg was signing on and Amy's not back as far as I know. And we're ready for their report.
I'm signing on now, or I'm sorry, I'm urging her to sign on now, but I could begin the report and
Okay,
she's joining us, it looks like.
okay, welcome aboard. And
Well,
there's Amy. Hi, Amy.
Hello.
There's Amy.
Okay, we are ready for our institutional report concerning workforce development from the two of you.
Well, very recently we had a think tank to gather input and from basically our customer base. We sent the invitation out to anyone who had retained services of the Learning Force for training. And the purpose was to reiterate what services we offered, even though the campus may be closed on ground courses, that we're still, the staff is very creative and effective in delivering instruction online, basically to encourage the placement of our students with those businesses that are still hiring. And the last, of course, is to see if there's any training needs, any new training needs that we may need to provide to our customers. And Amy, maybe you'd like to add a little more about the services that we explained to our attendees.
Absolutely. Yes. So the think tanks were really an innovative idea that Michael had, and he and I worked together to pull these groups together. And just as he mentioned, as a response to State Fair Community College, the Learning Force, our technical programs are here. We are being responsive. We want to hear from you what your needs are. And some of those things were focused certainly around the pandemic and how companies are responding now and how they plan to recover what they know now. A lot of that, as we know, is still in that development phase. And so we learned the need for some additional training. So additional training in the areas of commercial sanitation, industrial hygiene and safety, and how we can further add the PPE equipment into our skills training for our students and for our workforce training. We're working on developing that training right now. We also know that these companies and individuals have a need for our Small Business and Development Center services. So we've seen certainly an uptick in the entrepreneurs and small businesses that have reached out to the center. Kelly Asbury, our director, has been doing a phenomenal job and supported by the entire Learning Force team in assisting and counseling with those small businesses and making sure that they have what they need in terms of supporting their business, navigating through the CARES Act, the Paycheck Protection Program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program and grant opportunities, as well as just in helping them ensure that they have their finances in order as well. Another item that we discussed was career services and the need to link our students with employers, because we have a lot of employers in our region that are really seeing an upswing in their production. So maybe they're producing an essential product or they're seeing just an increase in production. We've got some others that are experiencing some layoffs. But we're working with those companies that are still hiring now and connecting them with our students. Emily Westermeyer has, she provides some limited, we have very limited time and resources to dedicate to career services right now, but she is working with those students to help ensure that they have a current resume, they have a current and/or competency profile polished up, and then also working with those employers for mock interviews via Zoom. So it's an opportunity to connect our students with those employers that are hiring right now, and further document those competencies that they're learning in their credit programs as well. So we're excited about that. We know that it is a challenge because we have limited career services that we're able to provide right now. But we are working very hard to connect those students with employers.
So much of the requirements for our Perkins needs assessment can be fulfilled through think tanks like this. And of course, we need that needs assessment to develop our plan for our Perkins funding. So this was very helpful in that respect also. But two things that we hope to deliver on right away is we're developing a cleaning for health training for local businesses, restaurants, motels. It's a little different than, in the past, a lot of companies have cleaned. When it looks clean, they assume it's clean. But cleaning for health is making sure those pathogens, the bacteria, the virus are addressed and removed. So it includes some different methods and techniques. And of course, the big message we got from the employers is they need more workers, more skilled workers. And in that respect, we need more students in the pipeline. We need more students recruited to help them fulfill their employment needs. So I think that's something that's really going to be a focus of a lot of these companies moving forward. And we hope to work with everybody in the community to realize that. Any questions?
A couple of questions that I've thought about as you've been discussing. Are we doing anything extra as far as getting the word out to the community, whoever that may be, as far as that we're going to have, for instance, this deep cleaning or cleaning training available? Is that something that, because that's a little bit unusual, it's not a typical what you would consider a workforce class or a college class. And there might be people that might have some interest in that, but they wouldn't know that State Fair is offering that. So is that something we would try to do, or is that kind of outside of the box?
Well, we're hoping that once we pull the experts together, we're communicating with 4 experts that are experts in cleaning for health. Hope to pull a webinar together to present for the community, and we'll really advertise that up once we firm that out.
Okay, good.
We have a meeting. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the results of this is I think people are going to look at their facility operations a little different, and there is going to be a little bit more of a professional take to facilities management in these areas such as cleaning. So it's really a component of that facilities management, that big picture of facilities management.
Okay, thank you. And one other question, I just wondered if you had heard much conversation. You mentioned the small business department there, and also the workforce. Has there been much conversation, particularly with the companies in Sedalia or in that area? Have they been able to participate in any of the government, the paycheck loans, or which hopefully are going to be grants to them eventually, but any of those types of funding that are in this, available, that they're now out of money, and I guess they're going to they're going to try to get them some more money, but have you just heard much conversation about that?
Yes, absolutely. So daily, there is a conference call with the state of Missouri SBDC network, and Kelly Asbury is part of that daily call. They even meet on the weekends. But they are very tied and connected to the federal loans and grant opportunities. And so because they've been part of that early discussion and kind of dissecting what that means exactly for small businesses and how they go about applying. So we've been able to work directly with small businesses in our SBDC region to secure some of that funding for them.
Okay, well, that's great. It's nice to know that rural areas are able to participate in that type of thing. And I've heard of some of that down here in Benton County. So I just was hoping that the same was true in Pettus and in other areas.
Yes.
Do any of the other board members or any other people participating have any questions? Or Amy or Dean? Okay, thank you. Michael, thank you. Amy, thank you. We
Thank you.
appreciate that very much.
Thank you
These are-
very much.
You're,
Appreciate it.
These are kind of new times for everyone, and we appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this particular time, it looks like Dr. Bates is going to give us an update on our academic programs. That's next on the agenda.
Thank you. Well, as you know, new programs and program deletions require Board of Trustees approval. And at a recent meeting earlier this year, you approved several changes to our curriculum. That was all timed with our new catalog. And I have just a couple of last cleanup recommendations to make as part of that final catalog process. So we bring to you two proposals for program additions: a computer use support certificate that is an option in the AAS and CIS programming degree, and a web design application certificate, which is an option in the CIS web development program. Both of these are just short-term certificates that stack into existing degrees and provide job opportunities for students very quickly to get some training, get out and get jobs. The faculty in those areas believe that there's job opportunities based on their advisory committee feedback and on analysis of jobs data. So both of these certificates do not require additional resources or additional personnel or staff. So they're just options that make our students more marketable and help fill some gaps in our community.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the other program inactivation does not require approval at this time, but eventually these programs would be inactivated. As part of that inactivation process, we have to teach out the students first. And so these are, I've listed on automotive transmission, drivelines and axles certificate, automotive electrical heating and air conditioning certificate, advanced drivability certificate, and automotive chassis certificate. The automotive program went through some significant changes, in large part due to accreditation requirements for that program. So they are going to have their accreditation is up next year. And that accreditation program has changed requirements in the program, most significantly requiring additional time for students. So our faculty spent a great amount of time revising that program, and they're eliminating these certificates, but they have other options for students, and it's really making the program a better program with a better chance for students to complete. And so our recommendation is the program additions, and then the program inactivation was just for information. I'm sorry.
Make a motion, we approve.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Julian?
Jerry Greer,
Yes.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Tim Page,
Yes.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
yes,
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, it looks like Keith is going to make a recommendation concerning the group health plan. And if we can get Keith back on the screen, we would appreciate it.
Basically, I'd like to review the benefits package for insurance for the upcoming year for our employees. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 insurance benefit packages as items 8, 9, 10, and 11. I'll review all of them with you. That way, then you can all approve each of them. The first is our group health plan. We pay for the employees' base plan. Costs of our health insurance this year are rising 9%. That is actually less than most other employers. We're part of the Missouri Health Consortium. And actually we get a reduced rate from them. I think their rates went up 13. Our agreement with them for joining it was we would get 4% below that rate through this year. So you'll see on there that our rates for a base plan for an employee go from $642 per employee to $700. And then the family plans increased from $1,763 to $1,920. Other than that, the plan themselves didn't change. The benefits remain the same. The deductibles remain the same. Just a premium increase. So that's the healthcare plan. The next 3 plans, our group life, our dental insurance, and our vision plan. All 3 of those suppliers agreed not to increase our premiums for the year. So dental insurance that we pay the employee for is the same as last year. Our rates for group life and AD&D remain the same as last year. And the vision insurance plan, which is optional, which our employees pay for, stayed the same as well. So no increase in any of those 3 plans. Dental insurance staying at $29.90 a month. AD&D see at 9 cents per $1,000 of coverage, and the vision plan for an associate staying where it was. So any questions on that? But we have that plan ready to go, and overall, I guess in the scheme of how things are for a lot of folks, I feel good about it. If anyone is, and we'll work on what we can do for the plans next year, particularly in healthcare, as they continue to rise.
Okay. Thank you, Keith. Okay, we've got on the agenda, there's 4 different motions. And so I assume we need to vote 4 different times. So I need a motion, first of all, for the group health insurance as presented.
Greer so moves.
A second.
Okay,
Jerry Greer,
Yes.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Tim Page,
Abstain.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
yes,
Randy Eaton.
yes. Okay, next, item number 9 is the group health and AD&D insurance. And as Keith reported, there's no increase in that premium to our employees, but we do need a motion and then the roll call vote.
A
so
motion.
moved, Patty Wood,
I'll second.
Jerry Greer,
Yes.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Tim Page,
Abstain.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
yes,
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next, we have the dental insurance. Need a motion and a second.
I so move. Greer here.
I'll second.
Jerry Greer,
Yes, ma'am.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Tim Page,
Abstain.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
yes,
and Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, our vision insurance. Need a motion and a second?
I'll motion we move.
I'd second it.
Gary Greer,
Yes.
Nick Estrada,
Yes.
Jim Page,
Abstain.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
yes,
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, thank you. And Keith, thank you for getting all that together, because that's an important part of what we do for our employees.
Thank Rachel and HR group. I just get to
Well,
report.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. Okay, next, it looks like Dr. Anderson is going to give us some information concerning the CARES Act.
Yes, so all of you may have read that the CARES Act was passed and that is going to provide some relief to students and institutions for COVID-19 related issues. This piece that we're asking you to approve this evening is the amount of money that is coming to the institution, but that goes directly to students. So I just want to make that really clear, because the institution only touches it to get the money to the students. The amount that the students attending State Fair Community College, and there are a number of guidelines that we have to follow to get this money to them, but amounts to $1,233,457 as calculated by the federal government on both the number of full-time students, the number of students that are Pell, and a few other factors. The students will receive this money once we fully understand all of the guidelines. We have made the application. We have to sign an agreement that this money will be sent directly to students once we get it and how that is used. We will inform students that it is related to the disruption of campus activities due to the coronavirus, such as food, housing, course materials, technology, healthcare, childcare expenses. So this evening, we are just asking you to approve that when those funds come to us, and we haven't received them yet, we've gone through the paperwork to apply to get them, that you approve us dispersing those to students per the guidelines. And we do have a subcommittee that is working to make sure that we are following those guidelines and deciding which students and the formula for dispersing those monies.
Well, can you give us an example of those guidelines? How the money's distributed?
Yes, and so the guidelines say that the student has to be eligible for Title IV funding, and we're not exactly sure whether that means they have to have applied for Title IV funds or just be eligible to receive that. So we have to verify that they are Title IV eligible. That may mean they did apply for a Pell. It may mean they didn't. Also, there is some discretion for financial aid directors to determine how best to allocate those funds. And so we're following some guidelines there. Obviously, initially, there wasn't guidance on whether international students could be receiving these funds, but they are not eligible for Title IV funding. So that eliminates that. So Jim, to kind of answer your question, we had some general guidance. Our team met. Since then, we have been given a little more direction, but we want to be really sure that we are dispersing these funds according to guidance so that we don't have to pay any of them back, even though they would have gone through the door. One thing we do know, they cannot go to offset any expenses the student may owe State Fair Community College, although a student could choose to use those funds to pay their educational expenses to the college. But they are really just strictly pass-through monies that have to be sent directly to students. Did that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, I think so, as much as you probably can at this point. I'm just curious how how it's going to be determined, how much money students get and how equitable it is and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I can tell you that some institutions decided to take 75% of the total allocation and direct it to those most needy Pell students. As long as we can say that students, whether they applied for Pell or not, are Title IV eligible, they don't have to have received Pell monies. And so we are planning to provide some assistance to all students who are Title IV eligible. And there could be some discretion as to those who had the most need indicated when they applied for Pell would get some more resources, some more of this money than the other students. But
This being additional work for somebody, is there an administrative fee associated with this that we're entitled to?
absolutely not. The
Okay.
institution cannot keep a penny.
All right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is additional work. Those students who have a direct deposit with us for their finances, this will be sent through our institution because we have to draw down the money from the federal government. It will be sent to their student account through the college. If not, we will have to issue a check, so a printed check. So you're right. It is a lot of additional work. We already had our IR department working for over 2 days to determine the list of students and the eligibility, and then we got further guidance. So we will make sure that we have all of the boxes checked before we send any of the money out the door. And we do have up to a year to spend the money. So we know right now there's a lot of need, but we can hold the money, make one disbursement now, and hold some money for further disbursements related to the pandemic. So the team is making all of those recommendations and decisions.
Those students who are receiving this, do they all have to be students who are enrolled in the spring semester?
There is a deadline, according to the act, that they have to have been enrolled at that point in time. And so, yes, we are confirming that date, but it is between March and April. Yeah.
Okay, so even if we kept them for a year, that's going to make it more difficult to go back because they still have to be during that time period to receive the money, right?
Well, that isn't exactly clear either, because in some cases you can use it for upcoming semesters. So as if the pandemic is still impacting students through
Well, I guess
summer,
that's what I was trying to ask. I didn't understand.
okay,
Was it-
through
was it
summer and
just-
to fall. Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. The motion, as it's been discussed by Dr. Anderson, is in front of us and need a first and a second.
I'll motion we move.
Second,
Okay. Jolene?
Gary Greer,
Yes.
Nick Lestrada,
Yes.
Jim Page,
yes.
Ron Winiger,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
yes,
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, back to Keith. He's making a recommendation on a quote that they've received.
So every year since 2005, the nursing program has used a variety of simulators for their nursing programs. These are multi-six-figure simulators, require updates, and so there is a warranty that goes along with them that serves only as a warranty, but really a service agreement as well. These agreements make sure they're up to date, take care of anything that happens to them. Also, if we were to ever cancel the warranty for a year, we could not get it back. You have approved these every year, I believe, since 2005. This year, the actual cost of the warranty has decreased. Last year, that by over $7,000. Cost of the warranty for our simulators this year is $40,609.80. It's provided by CAE Healthcare Inc. out of Sarasota, Florida, the same provider we've had since we purchased the machines. That's the manufacturer. So it is recommended that you accept this warranty quote for the nursing simulators from CAE Healthcare. The source of funding is the operating budget for the practical nursing and associate degree nursing programs. It covers 4 simulators and all the software and learning updates. And the simulators are used throughout the all 3 campuses that have nursing programs, that being Sedalia, Clinton, and Eldon. Total cost of this quote is $40,609.80.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Do I hear a motion?
I move we accept.
Second, Patty Wood.
Gary Greer,
Yes.
Nicholas Rada,
Yes.
Jim Page,
Yes.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
Yes.
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, Keith, you're still up.
Yes, and I'm going to have a guest speaker come on momentarily in Jim Cunningham, but this actually is a very timely quote that we have. I don't know if we were thinking ahead. Well, we were thinking ahead, but we were thinking ahead the right way. But we put out an RFP for a video management system. Quotes come back. The committee has reviewed it. But I'm going to let Jim, would you please come on, explain to them what the system is, what it does, and why we chose this one, so they have an understanding of the importance of the system.
Okay, thank you. So this is something we've been working on for about a year. We even talked about it last year when we were preparing this year's budget. We put together a committee. It was faculty, marketing, athletics, some others. We put out the RFP. We got 5 proposals back. They reviewed each one, had 2 of them come on campus and provide a presentation, and which led us to the chosen one here. And I'm not even sure I know how to say it, but I'm going to say UJA. I think they're out of California and Canada. What this video management system does, it'll integrate with our learning management system, which is Canvas, and it will allow us to basically do just about anything we want through the use of video. The biggest area is we have a lot of faculty. We have some faculty who currently have videos that they use as part of their lecturing tool in on-ground classes and online classes. Most those, if any, are closed caption, which is obviously required by the ADA for some of our students. So this will allow us to fix that. As they record the videos, the system will, within a 90% approximate accuracy, will close caption those videos for them or for us. Dr. Porter has assured me that one complaint, one fine for an ADA violation would be $50,000 to $60,000. So we're saving ourselves in the long run, probably. The second use, which we probably didn't think about as much up front, is what we're seeing right now with the COVID-19 and the move to alternative delivery styles. This will allow faculty to somewhat quickly put together videos of their lectures, of their lab assignments, anything else like that that can be easily put out there for the students through Canvas. It'll work on their computer, it'll work on their phone. There are going to be possibilities where we can do quizzes by video. There's opportunities to do all kinds of live streaming of our events, such as graduation, athletic events. So it's a bigger tool than just academics. But the ADA component is really one of the bigger parts of it. So I would take any questions.
Okay, now, and this is new, totally new, correct?
It is something we've never had. So like now, one of my faculty who does a lot of videos, if she ends up with a student with accommodations, then we're paying people to come in and do transcriptions of those videos, which is an hourly rate, which is very expensive. So
okay.
Would we be able to also do the board meetings like we're doing Zoom now?
It does not have a similar feature as Zoom.
Okay.
Well, I take it back. It has it. It's not included in this bid, but it could be added for an additional cost down the road if we want to go that way down the road.
Okay. Jim, will this be compatible with other systems like Blackboard if we switched back?
What they've told us is all the major systems, it will compete. I mean, we went with Canvas now, but yes,
Right.
they've assured us, like anything major, it'll work with.
Okay, because we tend to switch every once in a while.
Well, this will go 5 years. We still have Canvas for 4 more, so
Okay.
just be a 1-year layover in the worst case.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll do it.
So moved.
I'll second.
Jolynn?
Was the motion by Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Roll call, Jerry Greer,
Yes.
Nicholas Strata,
Yes.
Jim Page,
Yes.
Ron Winiger,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
Yes.
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Anderson, it looks like your report will be next.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm extremely proud of our faculty, staff, and the leadership team. All have stepped up in a tremendous way to help students succeed, to help stay connected with business and industry, and to make adjustments for our employees to work safely during this COVID-19 pandemic. I would like to recognize some of that work beyond what you heard from the Learning Force, and I do want to compliment the Learning Force. They have really done a great job of staying connected to our business and industry. But just some examples, some of these you may know about, some you may not. There have been a number of student-focused videos and Zoom meetings. And for example, the admissions, financial aid, and a faculty person put together a video about how students could use their A+ for summer courses. Dara Bigler at Clinton held an open meeting for high school seniors and parents on the admissions process with financial aid and a number of folks involved in that. There have been a number of faculty-focused videos. So Dr. Bates and a faculty panel yesterday shared teaching tips and techniques for using Zoom. Last week, I did a Q&A with the deans to answer employee questions, and there are some other faculty-focused videos. Then we've had a number of employee-focused videos and/or meetings. For instance, the president's message on a variety of topics, but there have been a number of those videos produced. I also want to compliment the marketing department. They have put together a student blog and are welcoming submissions from faculty and others about helping students through this time of the pandemic. And then our IT department has established an open door help desk utilizing Zoom. There have been a number of department meetings, and Dr. Bates is now doing a coffee break. Dr. Hutton-Gann is sending out a daily nurturing notes, and other things being done by our VPs, deans, and directors. And then finally, there have been a number of adjustments to facilitate remote work, including mail scanning as appropriate, phone calls forwarded through Jabber, moving paper processes to electronic. And I just wanted to compliment the tremendous amount of work that faculty and staff are doing during this time. Again, I would also like to say that our leadership team continues to be engaged with those at a national, state, and local level to bring information about COVID-19 and all of the decisions related to reacting to that, being safe. We are bringing that information to our teams and our processes.
Okay.
I'll entertain any questions about that in just a minute, but I have 2 more things to report. Additionally, I want to let you know that there are some changes occurring over in our Tech 2 facility. That is where we expanded for automotive a few years ago. When State Fair Community College approved becoming the fiscal agent for our occupational therapy assistant program, and those faculty then are being employed by our college, there was need for some office space. That's a requirement of the accreditation for that program. There was some unused space there. So currently our facilities crew is working to take down some temporary spaces, and we are going to be able to utilize MoExcel's monies to put in some office space there. So that will be able to be utilized by our occupational therapy assistant program. Previously, those individuals were housed either at the University of Missouri and or they had some space at Moberly Area Community College in Columbia. But those renovations will occur at no direct cost to the institution for those materials. Again, MoExcel's is going to cover that as part of our entire MoExcel's applications for a Center for Excellence in Health Sciences. The last thing,
excuse me, Dr. Ernst, what building did you say those were in?
Those, well, you would know it by the Melita Day.
Okay, that's what I was thought, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Our student union.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Jerry, you go way back. Yeah, yeah. Tech 2, we call it now, but yes. So there was a space outside of what the newly renovated automotive space was, where that's occurring. And then finally, I wanted to let you know that the Missouri Health Professions Consortium, which we are a member of, and through that, we are able to offer the OTA program and the medical lab tech program, which the fiscal agent for that program happens to be Moberly. But the consortium is joining other colleges, community colleges from throughout Missouri, indicating our interest in offering a respiratory care program. And I'm bringing this to you because currently the accreditation body for respiratory care, you might know it as Respiratory Therapy Assistant, an RTA program. Those have been associate degree programs until a recent reaccreditation decision that any new programs have to be offered at the bachelor's level. There is, as you know, a lot of demand from healthcare, from our healthcare partners. We've been asked about starting that program. We had that program in our history and haven't offered it now for a number of years. But to bring that program on, it would have to be at a bachelor's degree level. We, at this point in time, the process is we just have to indicate an interest, which would go before the coordinating board at their June meeting to indicate that the consortium is interested in moving this program forward. Then it would be under development. And at that point in time, we would have to come to you to ask for approval if we get to that point of implementing that program, and with the idea that we would have a year for development. But wanted to bring that to you. It's on the horizon. We believe it meets all of the criteria for community colleges to offer a bachelor's degree, that those requirements were established by the coordinating board and approved by the legislature a year ago, and just wanted to make you aware of that process.
Would it be a full 4-year program or less?
Well, it would be a bachelor's program. We have to show that if there are 4-year universities who want to partner with us, that's part of the criteria before a community college can offer a program. But so those things will have to be proposed and worked out.
Okay, thank you.
And it would be a consortium program, so much like we offer the OTA. The 5 community colleges that are part of the consortium, none of us would have enough enrollment to be able to pay for a bachelor's program at the cost it would be. But combined, we believe that there is enough interest and enough students to make it a viable program. So, and I would entertain any questions.
I have some questions, not about that, but I didn't know when to ask them. Is this appropriate time?
I think so.
Okay. What did we do about classes like welding and those hands-on types classes that, you know, welding, nursing is the only two I can think of off the top of my head. But what have we done about those?
So if we want to bring Michael, I know he's still on and he could address those maybe better than I can, but that has been, yeah, I'll just let him do that. And if Rhonda wants to address those, how we're handling that in the health science area.
I really appreciate this question because it gives me a chance to share how innovative and creative our faculty has been in delivering some meaningful instruction as we've had to discontinue some of those hands-on portions. Now, welding, we did have to discontinue some hands-on sections for the last 8 weeks. A lot of the other programs have been able to teach a lot of the technical and related information. And then there's been a really great use of videos, hands-on. The instructors still go into the equipment, videotape some of those exercises and share those out. Like in precision machining, the students can still do the programming section. You know, the manual machining part is really postponed, but they can still work on programming exercises and use simulation to test them. So a lot of the programs have done different approaches like that. Automotive's done a lot of work with video and the GoPros that they have as the instructors go into their own shops and videotape exercises. We are, excuse me.
When you say postponed, what do you mean by postponed in terms of that part of the instruction? Like, for example, I assume the welding part's been postponed.
Yes.
How will that affect those students in terms of their certifications and things like that? I mean, when will we do that for those students? Or do we not know yet?
Well, we've started meeting with faculty with the idea that we need a reopen plan to reopen the campus. So we're focusing on the individual students that need to graduate. That's going to be our first group. We're listing the competencies and estimations on how much actual lab time it will take. So we're breaking them into groups, and each program area is developing a plan to deliver instruction as soon as we get in, be it the end of May, be it June, because we want to get these students' requirements, especially the certifications, as soon as we can complete them. So the faculty is working on that plan, and we've made some good progress on that.
Okay, correct me if I'm mistaken, Dr. Anderson or Mr. O. Did we say that our instruction for the summer was going to be online?
Yes, yeah. Let me answer that. I'm sorry, let me answer that just if I can, Jim. So yes, currently the courses that were planned for summer, they are moved to alternative delivery, and that basically means they're synchronous or asynchronous online. However, we have a team that is working on a return to campus plan that would take into consideration all of the guidelines for maintaining student and employee safety. And so we are trying to find a way to bring students back to complete some competencies that they may need, yet sometime over this summer period. And I can't tell you when that would be. The goal of that reentry is first and foremost to maintain safety of employees and students. So we have the undergirding principles. That committee has met once, and then the COVID team met this morning to hear the first report out from that team. There's a lot of things on our list to understand. But to Michael's point, he already has his faculty working to identify what would have to occur when we say, go, you can bring students back under these conditions. How will we re-enter to let them get those certification requirements done? We definitely want them to be able to meet those certifications, pass those exams, absolutely. So I want you to know that we have a team that's working on that plan. The goal is to be able to articulate the details of that to our employees and our students. We have set a deadline of May 14th to have that plan completed.
Thank you. And I assumed you had something. I just didn't know what it was, and I was curious. And You know, who knows, in another month or two, we may not have as many worries as we have right now.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I will say that because of the cases continuing to increase here in Pettis County, I think yesterday they said 17, today it was 21, they have indicated, even though the governor is saying that the stay at home is through May 3rd, there could be further restriction for this area. And so obviously we have to follow that. And then we have to make sure that both federal, state, and local guidelines are being followed. And we want to make sure that employees are comfortable and our students are feeling safe. So how can we bring them back through social distancing, through some, one-on-one, one on a few. So Michael's team's working on that. And would you want to hear from Rhonda how it's a little different what they're doing in health sciences, but that's up to you.
I'm okay. I was curious about what was going on behind the scenes that we weren't aware of. And I did have a related question that you just brought up or touched on. If the governor says May 4th, we're ready to go, but the county says no, where do our employees stand at that point? Do they go back to work, not go back to work, or
well, well, our employees, we won't ask them to come back until we have a plan prepared. And we feel that, and obviously our local health department is in that. I know a number of the metropolitan areas have stay-at-home orders that extend beyond the governor's date. Right. So those would apply to those areas. Today in the Pettis County Task Force report, they said just because the governor says that statewide things can open back up on the 4th, don't expect that there won't still be restrictions for Pettis County because we aren't in that 14-day decline. So we will follow their guidance, plus we're developing guidance. I think our employees have really appreciated the fact that, first and foremost, we're focused on well-being and safety, and our plan for returning to campus would have that same guidelines.
Absolutely. Where does the mayor of Sedalia fit in this, if at all?
The city is a part of the county task force team. And, if there was the need to declare Sedalia a stay-at-home that would do something different than the governor, he would probably have to make that declaration like other mayors have for Kansas City and St. Louis. But
well, so I was concerned, and I probably shouldn't bring it up, but I was concerned because I'd heard the rumor that the mayor was leaning the other way of opening things up as soon as possible. And I had no idea where that fit in our hierarchy.
Well, obviously our team is following all of the best science that we can.
Absolutely.
The guidance and the data that we have. And we also are in communication with other institutions. So I've been in communication with University of Central Missouri to understand, what they're going to do because, we overlap with sometimes employees and or students. We want it to be thoughtful and appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Anderson. Next, Keith, we are now ready for the financial report.
Well, and still not, but we're not quite to your page yet. We're going to talk about the investment report first on the quarterly. So we had over the last quarter, 2 of our CDs have matured. Those were rolled into Central Bank since they are offering, we have a 2.25% return rate there. And I think the last I looked, I think Treasury notes are about 0.04 and others are basically 0. But right now, as we stand today, if you look at your I-1 report, we have 23.5% of our money invested in time deposits, and that the average weighted return on those time deposits and CDs is 2.33%. If you look on to the far right on maturity, you can see that 4 of those, I mean, the vast majority of those CDs are going to be maturing as the year goes along. As the year goes along, we'll continue to roll those into our demand deposits, which are about 76.5% of our available cash now. With central bank, we have a 2.25% return through June of 2021. So it makes no sense right now really to put our money elsewhere. One, I think we may need the cash going forward. I think cash is going to be king. There is no doubt that our budget is going to be impacted next year from both the state and from enrollment, and we need to keep our cash available for that. Also, we're getting a better return with the cash where it is than we are. So right now, the total of all our cash, of all our money on a weighted return is in the box there. We have approximately $10 million as of March 31st that was earning a return of some form. But the weighted average of those was roughly 2.25%, which for the first quarter might be one of the better returns in the nation. I would venture to say, based on everything else. So that's what it is. Also, you know that all of our both time deposits and demand deposits have to have pledge collateral against them. The underneath the amount of deposit shows you the pledge collateral we have in each of the places, be it at Equity Bank or Central Bank or Farmers Bank. And in each case, we have more than sufficient pledge collateral to cover the assets we have at those, which is part of our policy. So any questions about the investment report? Okay.
Didn't sound like it.
Okay, next, Randy, will be your turn pretty soon. Really, I look at really the table F1, which is the status of our general fund, which is our unrestricted revenues, unrestricted expenses. As we've talked all through the year, we continue to be outpacing the prior year in terms of both revenue and more revenue, less expense. We're doing well against budget and well against this period last year. If you'll see on total general fund revenues, you'll see that our actual through the month of March is the $25,388,302, which is about, what is it, 700,000 higher than last year, about $1 million higher than the year before. That gap is going to close the next 3 months. In fact, there's a very good chance we could end up less than 2019 for 2 reasons. One, the state has cut back $500,000 in our funding that's being taken out in 3 increments. So half of that million is already gone. We're also anticipating a fairly significant shortfall in summer enrollment, which will probably eat the rest of it up. So from a revenue standpoint, there's a good chance that we'll be, probably, it could be anywhere from $1 million to $1.5 million under the budget, and just a little bit under last year because of those situations that just occurred right now in the last 3 months. From an expenditure standpoint, however, our expenditures should continue to track less than last year. In fact, the pace of the differential may increase as most of we were very prepared to go online. We were extremely prepared to go online. We've had to pick up a few incremental costs. We've had some additional Zoom licenses. We've had a little bit of technology, but most of the technology was already in place. Most of our Zoom licenses were already in place. We had appropriate internet bandwidth. We had storage capabilities. We had all the things we needed. So most of the expense we're incurring is for PPE and some additional technology, but not a tremendous amount. So I expect our expenses to stay lower than last year. We continue that, but as we talked about the last meeting, some of the things we talked about happening have come into play. We did lose the state funding we talked about. We are seeing the impact on summer enrollment. We are refunding, the housing, some of that. So I would say ending the year, I'm still hopeful that we will end the year up pretty much on a balanced budget, even with those losses, maybe slightly to the positive. It's next year we continue to look at. So Randy, I don't know if that general dialogue answer some of your questions, or if you'd like something more.
No, that's fine. I just saw that it was, there was a pretty big space there, and I thought that typically that's good. Our expenditures were less than budgeted, so that's good. And I was just wondering.
What I would
if-
compare it to even over budget is really versus last year's. If you think about it, we'll spend roughly $3 million a month the next month. And I know cash doesn't always equate to income, but you can use them roughly. So if you had an 19 and added 9, you'd be around the 28. I think we won't spend that much. And I think we will, you see the gap between this year and last year is roughly 600,000 less than at the same time last year. I actually think that differential increased slightly simply because we're not occupying the campus right now, and we don't have any travel going on right now. So that will help make up for some of the contraction of the difference or the disappearance of the difference on the revenue side. Good part is we were tracking in a good way that this hitting, while is a gut punch, we had gotten ourselves in shape. I guess if I'm going to keep using that analogy, and we'll absorb it. Next year, we're going to have to work very, very hard to make sure we can absorb it. I like the fact that we have a fairly strong cash balance right now. That will go down somewhat, but I don't anticipate it going down, so much that it becomes untenable, because we know where the losses are, at least going into this year. Next fiscal, we'll talk about that at the next meeting, since we're still sorting through that. The state is anticipating $500,000 to a $1 billion shortfall in revenues. And as we all know, education tends to be the favorite repository to go get those monies.
Yeah. Sorry to say, I think you're right. That's too bad. But okay, thank you, Keith. I appreciate that very much.
Randy, I had a question.
Sure.
I'm sure it's been brought up or thought of, but since we're going to alternative instruction this summer, is there an opportunity to save significant amounts of money by closing up the buildings and turning the air conditioner off and all that good stuff, saving on utilities? I don't know if that's a significant amount or not, but it is in my house.
I was not as far as saying turn them off, but they are being, the buildings are all obviously programmed, and that I know that Justin has raised the temperatures on them. Their shut off cycles are longer than they used to be. The lights are off, obviously. Water is not being used in the dorms. We're not heating up, water with natural gas. So yes, my rough calculations are we're probably saving right now 10 to 12,000 a month in various utility costs because of that.
And shouldn't that go up in the summer, or the amount of money we're saving?
It would be, because to your point, our air conditioning bill would go very, very high in the summer if we were occupying them. We don't want to get them too hot in the buildings, because there's an ambient temperature you want to maintain. And I know Justin's looking at that. I'll talk to him more about it. But yeah, he's to his credit, he's been on top of that. And you're right, the differential should expand. Also, we're doing our own mowing now. Our mowing bid, as you saw before, was roughly $30,000 for the year. The mowing is being done by our own staff, since they have the time for that. So there's savings there. So we're fine. I mean, we are literally looking, as they say, under every rock, under every blade of grass, under every light switch, under every thermostat, to find those, because all those, as they say, you save enough dollars, pretty soon you add up to real money. And we've got to find the real money. No, let's not kid ourselves. There will be state budget cuts next year. They could be anywhere from 10 to 20%. And we know that. We know that if we can't go back fully on ground, and that will impact our enrollment. Every college is seeing it, and the surveys they're doing of students are saying it. Students want to come back to class, and they're willing to sit out a year if they can't do it. Most of the colleges like us and Dr. Bates and his team are saying, what would we have to do to make it happen? And how can we do it safely, if possible, in a manner to do that? So we just have to be very realistic of what we're up against. And so what you'll see for a budget is, you'll see kind of a sliding scale scenario of kind of, here's kind of where we're probably thinking, but then here's kind of a worst case scenario, and understand that there's, like, think of the slide on the old kind of speaker, you know, somewhere in that range is where we're going to end up being. And we've got to be prepared to, depending on where the slider goes, have plans to what do we do next, what do we do next on that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Keith. We appreciate that very much. And you should report back to really all of the staff, everybody that's involved. I know everyone's looking. I know it's hard, but the board and all of the administration appreciates very much everyone being conscientious about these uncharted waters, I guess you would say. It's very difficult to know what's right, but we're very fortunate that we have a history of having a fairly strong, dollar balance. So we appreciate that. Okay, is there any other board discussion that any of the other board members would like to mention?
I spoke to Joanna here a while back.
Uh-huh.
Did you have an opportunity, Joanna, to ask Nick about the election?
No. No.
Okay. Nick,
So-
Nick,
Yeah.
There's Nick.
are we
you guys-
required to have our election in June?
As of right now, it was under with the governors as they extended it to June 2nd. It will be June 2nd as of today.
Are we required to participate?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Because I had suggested we possibly put this off and save the cost of this election till possibly even November, when we'll have a general election.
No, the ballots are not being reprinted. So when you all vote, your ballots will still say the April 6th election.
Okay.
So even though it's going to be, well,
June.
April 7th election, but it's going to be June 2nd. So that's going to say for all the entities that are on the ballot.
Okay.
So nothing's getting reprinted or anything. It just got postponed.
Okay.
Yep.
So our cost of that election generally runs somewhere between 20 and 25,000.
That's right. And it's going to depend because the county has a full county-wide as well. And depending
Okay.
what Benton and Cooper and all the other counties has as well.
Okay. Thank
So-
you.
Nope, no problem.
And one other thing, Dr. Anderson, I mentioned to you earlier about kind of where we stood with graduation, or at least acknowledgement of that. Could you tell the board just briefly kind of what your team is looking at? We're not going to hold you,
Yeah.
exactly to it, but at least, once in a while, someone might ask some of the trustees about how we're going to recognize graduates.
Absolutely. So this is what I can tell you. And then there's a few other details that the commencement committee is working and considering. But as you know, our commencement for May 15th will not be held. Those individuals will be able to participate in the May commencement in 2021. They would be invited to participate at that. We will be sending all of our graduates their diplomas. They will receive their tassel. They're going to receive a program. I believe they're going to get a t-shirt in lieu of a barbecue that we had planned for those students. So there's a packet of materials that the Student Government Association is paying the postage on, and we are providing the materials to recognize them. The health science programs have a pinning that coincides with their commencement in the afternoon. And they have decided to move that pinning piece forward, but doing it in an electronic format of either a YouTube. The details haven't been worked out, but it will be the pinning portion only, so that we're not saying that they get to have a commencement and other students don't. So that would be on May 15th, and then probably the June one as well, because we are not having activities that draw a lot of crowd together through the summer through June. So I will let you know of those details and how, if they want trustees to participate. I think right now there's going to be a history of the pin and some ceremony connected to the pinning. Those of you who have been at our institution a long time will remember that there were a number of pinnings that occurred back in the old days, I'll say. So there's still, we're kind of going back, but it's going to be a combined pinning for all of those health science graduates, which are about close to 80, 78, I believe, that would have been pinned on the May 15th ceremony. So I will give you details on that. Then additionally, we are looking at if it's safe to have students congregate. You couldn't pull them together and them not want to hug each other or, you know, be in close proximity. So if and when that becomes safe, we had planned to offer maybe an opportunity to recognize them somehow through a graduation party or some event. But
Okay, all right.
Randy, I had a question.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Regarding the new building that we're talking about building, has there been any word about that money being threatened or in danger of?
I'm glad you asked that question, Jim. Actually, there has been no word about the CDBG money nor the NAP money. Those are federal dollars, and there's been no word.
Concerned?
So, yeah, true. We are moving forward. We being the foundation office, myself and the foundation team, we have met with the consultants Hartsook twice extensively. We met with them again today for several hours to move forward. So obviously, you know, launching a capital campaign in the time of a pandemic is, you know, probably something no one has done before, because we haven't had this kind of an issue ever before. But there are some opportunities for this campaign that are unique, that some foundations could be approached. And so there's some opportunity here. And so anyway, the plans are moving forward. Right now, the earliest it looks like a groundbreaking would happen we had planned initially, the timeline was to have that the beginning of May, and that would be delayed until probably the middle of July. So we think, you know, we believe that when this is said and done, that the demand for those programs is going to be, the projected demand is still going to be there. And so we are wanting to move forward, take advantage of those dollars. And right now, Jim, we've had no word that any of them will be cut.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I'm concerned that money might disappear or be absorbed.
Yeah, well,
something else.
I hear you.
It's a valid concern, yes.
Yeah, it is. So the one thing that we are fairly sure might not occur next year would be a part of the project was going to take into consideration a MoExcels grant that I've told you in the past, we were number 3 on the list for next year. The commissioner, I'm a part of the commissioner's advisory group. We are getting our MoExcels money for this year, which is a really good thing. I should have put that on the list when I said, you know, we're using that money. Next year, it's very likely the MoExcels money might not be there, but perhaps there would be some specific projects approved. And so, you know, I know the governor came, he is aware of our project. We hope that there could be some resources still through MoExcels for this workforce. Obviously, workforce is going to be huge when we come out of this pandemic. So, but you're right. We are moving forward. Right now, we've had no word that those federal dollars wouldn't be there, but we are watching.
Is there a mechanism for them to let you know if something's going to happen to those dollars, or do we have to ask? Or I hate
Well,
to ask because of what the answer might be, but I mean,
we are in communication with the Department of Economic Development. That money flows through them at the state level. And yes, that's a great question. Right now, yeah, you hate to ask.
just keep us posted, would you please?
I will. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. On our agenda, it says we are ready to go into closed session, but as we did last month, we'll go ahead and close out this meeting completely. And as you know, we have to log out and then log back in, and you have the number for that. But make note that we are scheduled at this point for May 28th. And chances are it will continue to be a video conference meeting. And the administration will determine if we need to have a work session prior to that. But at this point, I need a motion for our regular meeting to adjourn, and then we need a motion to go into closed session.
Go, Ron.
So moved.
I'll second it.
I tried to, it just doesn't happen.
We knew you wanted to say it. We knew it.
Roll call. Jerry Greer,
Yes.
Nicholas Strada,
Yes.
Jim Page,
Yes.
Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
Yes.
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, everyone that has been involved and has participated in today's video conference. We appreciate that very much.
We need a motion to go into the closed session.
Yes.
I move we go into closed session compliant with the,
Second.
I'll second.
And roll call. Jerry Greer,
yes.
Nicholas Strada,
Yes.
Jim Page, it looks like he left. Ron Winnegar,
Yes.
Patty Wood,
Yes.
Randy Eaton.
Yes. Okay, we will close out, and then everyone, you've got your number to come back in.
Yes.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye-bye.